Okay, I'm going to split this video into two parts. First part will be like revision tips and the workload that we have to deal with at A level, and the second one will be my experiences. So to begin this, let's start with the workload. So starting at A level, like, is it a huge jump? For me personally, it was a significant jump, but not as significant as I expected it to be. This is a useful advice for you because it boils down to what subjects you actually enjoy. Choose carefully when you are picking in which A levels you want to be doing, whether that's 3 or 4, whether you're doing an EPQ on top of that, because you're going to be doing it for at least like 2 years, so make sure it's something that you think you could do and could enjoy, because if you pick something that is boring or a lot harder than you thought it was going to be, then you're going to be trying to get through that for 2 years and your lessons are going to drag all the time. So if you pick something you enjoy, then your time at a sixth form or college will go a lot quicker and it'll be a lot more enjoyable, and you'll be able to thoroughly get into the content and actually understand it and be happy with yourself for it, and it kind of motivates you to study more if you enjoy it as well. So if you want the knowledge in, and it also helps having good teachers as well, teachers who engage with you, because when I started in my first year in year 12, all my teachers were fine. In my psychology one, I had different teachers because the first one went on maternity leave. We then had another teacher who came in, we had another teacher coming in for a month, and then we all got split up into different classes for the remaining months before the final exams. If you pick something that you're going to enjoy, I know they say you're going to enjoy it, doesn't necessarily make it easier, it just makes it more enjoyable to learn. So let's start with this. Right, for example, GCSE, you could have like a couple of exercise books to read through before the exam and you'd be fine. Not at A level, because let's start with philosophy. This is, bearing in mind this is just A2 work. There's 2 years, this is the second year's work. I think I binned my first year stuff because I didn't need it again, apart from ethics. But this was the philosophy section. I don't think all the booklets are in here, but you can see the size of it, and this is where I can keep all my assessments and everything in here. Like all the booklets, miracles and everything, which didn't come up, and I'm glad it didn't come up because I didn't revise it. Yeah. Philosophical problems, everything's fallen out of this because I have it very stapled, but you can see the amount. And then you also have these summary sheets and practice questions on as well. Attributes of God, which I absolutely love. People hate it, I actually love it. I'm one of the rarities. It just clicks, just makes sense. Probably because it touches on the metaphysical. And you know what I'm like for metaphysical? I preferred my philosophy in second year, because first year it was interesting, really was interesting, but I don't know the second year. They do say year 13 is harder, and it is a bit, but I don't know, the content was just more engaging, you could properly get into it. And that's what I did, and then I maintained the mindset and I came out really good grades, so do the same. And this was ethics. Again, out of the same workload, this is A2 ethics. I can't really show you many things in there because of the paperwork. Yeah, there's stuff like, we got given like sections on meta-ethics, or... Well, this was philosophy. Life, Death and the Soul, my favourite. Virtue ethics, which didn't make sense to me when I first read it, but I read it again and I looked at it with everything else and it actually did make a lot of sense. So, glad of that. Didn't answer it on the day, but this is just second year stuff. AS ethics. Look at the folder size. And not all this is ethics, by the way. This is just the size of the folder that could contain the work. Ethics in AS, it was a lot shorter than it was at A2, but I did a resit in ethics. I went more detailed in the resit because I had more practice, and logically I came up better grade. This was my film one. We didn't get much for it, but it's the analysis that's really important, and it goes a lot more advanced than you'd expect. So we got booklets like this to go through. This is what I was saying in the other video. If you read it, we have example boxes. So you essentially take information from here, like for example key points, keywords, writing them down on a piece of paper, highlight them and use abbreviation into this. This is just a section C example, but yeah. So you put in the top right, always stick with this theory, because they don't actually specify a specific theory in the exam, for example, so include this, who said what, how that fits, key scenes and everything. So yeah, that was film pretty much. I would say film was the easiest out of the three, but that does not mean it's a cop-out subject. Simply because, I hate when people say this, people say, oh film, all you do is watch films all day. That is not true. We watch films and we analyse them and look for hidden meanings, messages, values, societal influences, camera trickery, cinematography design. It actually touches on psychology if you actually think about it. So technically all three of my subjects do interlink with each other, so therefore you cannot disprove that film is a cop-out subject, because it is not. It is educational, it's an expression of vision, and it can't be a cop-out, otherwise it wouldn't be an A-level, advanced level. The amount that we actually have to write, and that's just for one scene. So, yeah. Let's start with the end one, which is psychology. This is the most hefty because it's a linear course. We do a load of work at the end of 2 years. Our exams were 3 exams, so there was a lot of pressure on this one, but I just grasped it straight away. It just made sense to me. So I think all the booklets are in my bag. Well, this folder was the biggest. There were so many booklets. That's just for 3 subjects. With 1 year, except psychology, 1 year's worth of subjects. Philosophy and ethics, I read through the booklets, and I looked for any similarities between them, as well as my own ideas of spirituality, because I've had experiences of spirituality, and a knowledge of how for example, religions interlink with the same stem. So if you know that, then you can see how the other theories will expand on that, and therefore they all become part of the same. You can spot interlinking sections and have a wider understanding. It helps with all subjects. Don't rote learn. Understand it for what it is. Apply the content. It's know what the exam is after. Know your structure, but don't rote learn the content, because you're going to be doing there for hours and hours, so you're going to be like a robot in the exam. If you understand it, you will save yourself a whole lot more trouble and still come out with decent grades. I read a lot and it just goes in. I read it so I know what to include, not rote learn. I just read through the booklet and think, okay, this is this, this is this, this is this, and this and this. But if I know what it is, it helps the retention process. Like, obviously model answers and everything are good, but you don't, at the end of the day, you don't know what the exam's going to ask you. They could throw a curveball question in there, and it's going to throw you, you have to think on your feet in an exam anyway. So don't, obviously I do advise do model answers, but don't rely on them as the be all and end all, because you don't know, and you want to have like some expression of understanding for yourself, your own reasoning, rather than just thinking, okay, well, this section is this, so therefore we have dot 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 dot, word for word. No, understand the content for what it is. Like, for example, psychology, we have the OCD explanation. If you know your keywords for it, then you can fit them all together. It's a bit different. It's different for GCSE. You have to understand it. If you understand it for what it is and look beyond what they give you, read it in a more enlightened sort of way, you'll grasp it a lot more than you think you will, and you'll be able to see why things are the way they are. That's what I did for RS. I read it, and I thought, okay, well, how does this link to wider ideas? And if you can see that, and you can see why it exists today as a theory, it'll help you understand it more. Just broaden your knowledge beyond what they give you, okay? They'll give you the content, which you do need for the exam. If you learn it, you'll get a really, really high grade. But to help you retain it more and cope with the workload, because there's a lot, because my problem wasn't the difficulty of the work, it was the amount they give me. So to do it, I'd just say broaden your understanding of it as a whole, but don't be afraid to use your own opinions and your own ideas for how these points link, because that will help you make a balanced argument and will be unique, and you'll stand out from the crowd with reduced pressure compared to other students. But if you understand the link between philosophy and ethics, although the 2 subjects, they are kind of interlinked, they have interlinking properties, so if you understand one, then think about how the other one will also fit. For film, you saw it in the other one, as I said, take down the main points, and then write them down, like highlighting them, abbreviations, know the order, so then when you go in there you think, okay, well, this is talking about this thing, like for example, this abbreviation meant this, therefore, oh, this is this scene I can talk about. I know my camera work, I'm like, okay, well, here we go, paragraph, and it'll come to you. But that's not rote learning, that's you bringing it down, understanding it in your own way. Psychology, I literally just read through the booklets and I retained it. Not word for word, but the order and what it was going on about and the keywords. It went in. I went over about, I was doing it for like, when I was doing it for tests, I didn't really revise a lot. I'm quite a logical thinker, and I'm also a creative thinker as well, but put the two together, I don't really need to do it as much as what's expected. You feel like you're doing really well, and you know you're doing really well, and all the teachers like saying, do this, do this, do this, do it to please them. don't, obviously, just do it to please them so they don't like have a go at you. It's just unnecessary hassle. Just get it done. That's what I do with the homework. I thought, I can't be asked doing this. I don't retain it when I do the homework. I literally just write it for the sake of it. When it comes to tests, though, that's when I remember it. I just sit down with the booklet, I read through it, and I go dot dot dot. Okay, this is this, this, and this, and this, and this. When it comes to the AO3 points, I don't remember them all. Luckily for some questions on the exam, just triggered it. If you don't work in that way, there are flashcards that you can use. There were cue cards. There were talk with other people, model answers, that sort of thing. But if my method doesn't work, if my method works for you, you can just sit and read it and it goes in, then we're on the same page for this. But if it doesn't, don't matter, there are alternative strategies to get to where you need to be. You can use those other strategies for everything. So if you have like, you got to be dedicated, you got to be committed, because you got to put it out for the 2 years. And A-levels, yes, they are hard. They are a lot harder than GCSEs, and they're a lot more in depth. But if you understand them, they're a lot more different from GCSEs. If you do A-levels, you can actually see the world a whole lot clearer as you develop with age. Even though they give you guidelines in college, you don't always have to follow them. Like, for example, you should be doing your homework tonight, you should be revising now. You don't have to. As long as you get it done and as long as you know what you're doing, then you're fine. It's because they want you to do well. They put a whole lot more pressure on you. Block out all of that pressure, okay? Just block it out. You don't want to pick up all that pressure because you're going to be agitated. I got stressed enough when I was doing it because there was that much work and I wanted to do really well. I ended up making myself ill for like a few days after the exams. Luckily, I've done well in my exams and I'm off to university, which I'm really happy about. My college, they were like really pro on university. Like, it was like the first thing they want you to do. If you're watching this, if you don't want to go to university or you've dropped out or anything, don't worry about it. You choose what you want to do. Like, if you don't want to go to university, you don't want to go to university. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't feel like they're superior to just because they've gone to university. But there are alternative routes. You've got jobs, you've got apprenticeships, you've got everything. Talk about my experiences now. I was a very independent person, so I used up my free periods. Like, in the first half of the year, I pretty much just kept the frees as the way they were. I didn't really do any work with them. And then I started using my free periods more towards the end of the year, near exams, for revision and reading. So I didn't really go to we had a special achievement centre place where it was quiet, but it was too quiet, like a library quiet, where you're going to get penalised if you talk. And I didn't like the atmosphere, so I just revised in the canteen on the top floor. Because our college had 2 canteens. I just revised on the top floor. Yes, it was somewhat loud, but I can just block out the sound and read. That's just me. So that's what I do. So that's pretty much for all of them, really. Reading, the content, going in was my main. It kind of applied to all 3 subjects, really. But I just changed my strategy slightly towards the end of the exam because it was working in class and I was getting really high marks and everything. If you want to know what marks I actually got throughout the year and the final results, then the other video is in the description below, along with my social media links. Start of the year, I'd meet with friends from high school in my first year. Towards down the line, that fizzled out, kind of dropped out of my friendship circle, which happens. I didn't really have that many friends in college, really. I just got on with my work. I tried to make friends, but nobody really sort of, it didn't really click, which I'm not bothered about. I had one friend, but that was a person from high school. We went to the same college, so I hung around with her for the 2 years pretty much. Yeah, I had people I spoke to in class, socialising, but as soon as you leave the classroom and leave the building, no, didn't speak to them. Nice, there was the people I did speak to in the class, they were nice people and everything, don't get me wrong, it's just, I don't know, just after class it just didn't really work. But don't worry if you don't have that many friends in college, because I did it. I had one person, but even if that one person wasn't there, I found a way to make it work. I just relied on my work when I was reading, and then when I came home I had a break. So, yeah. I had people, obviously I spoke to my high school friends online and everything, and then met up with them, but don't be disheartened if you don't have that many friends. And for that being, they will have people who are very cliquey and stay in their own friendship circles and don't move on. A whole lot harder to adapt. So you got that advantage there, you got a stronger adaptability. So yeah, because my sixth form, we used to have one in high school, but they got rid of it when I was in year 9, go to a different one. I was sixth form for 2 years and now I've left after 2 years, and it's been the quickest 2 years of my life. I used to buy food there because it was somewhat reasonable price. Some of it was overpriced for what it was, but what are you gonna do? Then it came to the exams and I did revise, but not as much as I've done this year, so I got lower grades. And then I thought, you know what, I'm gonna see if I can get higher this year, and I started getting higher results in my second year, which I preferred a whole lot more. And then I was just doing really well, and I thought I'm gonna maintain this, see what I get, and it worked for the most part with all my results, except for one paper, which which is, as you know, is getting a check. I could cope with the workload because they gave me a lot, but I grouped the content looking for similarities, so you understand the topic as a whole, and then when it comes to a question you think, okay, this can be this, and it can also be this, and if it's a subjective topic you can pick something, you can always find a way to make it link. There's always a way, okay? There's always an opposite to something that you can counter. They're always going to coexist. It's the beauty of college. As soon as you've done your lessons you can just go home. You don't have to stay, like in high school ours was like 8:30 till 3:05, but you don't have to like stay there for that long. You can leave as long as you turn up for your lessons. You can just, it's your own choice, but you will have penalties if you don't. At high school, they were 50 minutes, obviously because the content's shorter, which I did well in GCSEs. I got 8 Bs, an A and an A star. Our sixth form college, they went from 50 minutes to an hour and 10 minutes, and were an hour on Fridays. They didn't feel long, they kind of, because it was as I said earlier, the subjects I picked, I enjoyed. The time, it went a lot quicker than I thought it would, especially when you're in assessments because your brain's just working constantly. Some lessons obviously do drag when you want to be doing something else. You go to college or sixth form, you will enjoy it. Just be careful what subject you pick. If you pick something you enjoy, you will make your college worth it. Your experience will be great. That's been me for today, talking about my experiences and alternative revision methods and my college experience overall. So yeah, thank you for watching.